streaming from the Oklahoma's own digital studio. This is In the Spotlight with Robin Marsh.
Well, welcome to In the Spotlight, and today I'm so excited to really shine the spotlight on a man who has led OU athletics through national championships, through big changes, and some big-time Sooner memories. We're talking about OU Athletic Director Joe Castiglione, one of the most respected people in the world of college sports. Joe, you really do have a handprint all over the country, it seems like, knowing people who are athletic directors, don't you?
It's one of the really important elements of leadership, I believed, is mentorship. I mean, I spend a lot like coaches do of their athletes, and for staff that have interest in pursuing parts of their career. We certainly hire them to do certain jobs, but then we want them to grow professionally. So I've always tried to pour into them so they can reach their professional goals. And the ones that wanted to be ADs, maybe I would say, are you sure about it? But, but when they do, I've really enjoyed that. Now, seeing them prosper. I think it's 33 or 34 that have moved on in one place or the other that either worked for me at Missouri or during my 27, 28 years at Oklahoma. Now, 2 of them are conference commissioners.
Oh my goodness.
So really proud of them.
When I started this podcast, I started jotting the names down of the people, and you were at the top of the list. I've got to get Josie in here. We've known each other, Joe, really kind of when you first came to Oklahoma, and the tie that really was a bind for us, not only just the love for OU, but is that we're both Italian.
That's exactly right.
I'm like Paisan, right?
That's right.
So every time we'd talk, I'd be like, hey, Paisan, can you come on the news? He's like, absolutely. I don't think you've ever said no to when we've asked you to come on our show.
Well, I think it's an honor, and I always say it's like a reunion at least once a year when we come together before football season. It's been a lot of fun, and I know we just started with a question right off the top, but I want to thank you for being one of the first to be on your podcast. This is pretty special, and you're special too. And having a chance to even help during my career at OU and your son going to OU.
Yes.
We just have shared so much together, and I'm just really grateful for that.
Oh my gosh, that just means so much. Your Italian heritage means so much to you. I mean, your mother and father, and what is it about that culture of being Italian that really has shaped you to the man you are, and how you live your life and what you're trying to impart with your own family?
Well, I think it's probably just that, family. Family was so important. We did a lot together, a lot of dinners especially, which probably helps explain the interest of my culinary side, which is one of my little things about going to restaurants and knowing where to eat. But, unfortunately, you don't see that as much anymore. People getting around a dinner table or being together and sharing. Now, I will tell you, as you know, it's not like it's a smooth household all the time.
No, it's loud.
It's loud. And
I love it.
My extended family were never shy at expressing their opinions. There was a movie out some years ago called My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Yes.
I mean, it could have been My Big Fat Italian Wedding.
It's
it was just, all the mannerisms, all the things in a household, all the interactions.
And the aunts and the uncles and the, yes.
I thought I was watching a little bit of my life, go before me. But, at the end of the day, everybody sticking behind each other. They may argue, they may be loud, but they're always there for each other. And I think in a lot of ways that helped shape me.
It's hard when you lose. I've lost both my parents now. My mom was full-blood Italian, but it is hard when you lose both your parents, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah. And as we've talked about, I'm adopted. So people always ask, well, do you have any interest in finding out who your biological parents are? And I never really have. I had great parents that adopted me very early on. And that's all I've known, and that's great. I'm blessed. I maybe would want to know what they did, in their life to see, not that I would ever be envious of the life they had versus the one that I had, but, you're just curious. So that's the only thing. And you know, I've just had a really great life, and in turn, I've always felt like part of having a great life is trying to do something for somebody else and help them have a great life. And that's sort of the symbiotic relationship that I've adopted as I came up through the profession, and why I embrace it as one of my leadership characteristics, because if I can help others be successful, then I'll be successful. And if they're not successful, then I'm not successful. Yeah. So, you know, I've always really understood that kind of equation, and it's been part of what drives, you know, how we do things.
Isn't it funny, though, to think how God really does order your steps? If you would not have been adopted, your life would have been totally different.
Exactly. And it's not that I grew up thinking I was going to be in a role as a director of athletics. I mean, far from it. I didn't really have like some role model. I had coaches, and I really appreciate coaches. In fact, to this day, my high school football coach and I are like this.
Who is that?
His name is George Smith.
Okay.
He's 77 years old. He was very young, you know, as a coach at my high school in South Florida, and he went on to have great success, like a legendary coach. Won a whole bunch of state championships. They're one of the predominant high school teams in the United States, and he built all that. He's retired now, but to this day, I talk to him every 4 to 6 weeks, you know, my high school coach. And so you realize that coaches can be such an influential part of somebody's life, and at a time when you need to be shaped. And, you know, they're kind of your dad away from home. That's why we always, at some point, refer back to sports being kind of a metaphor for how you handle your life.
Isn't that the truth? Do you remember that time? We got to talk about one more Italian thing. So your parents had both passed, and I remember I went to Lawton, and my mom, full-blood Italian, she loved OU sports, and you had never met her, but I said, you know, Josie's Italian, and she's like, oh, I love that. And you know, I told her that your parents had both passed, and you know, we were talking about Italian food, you and I, about missing that. And my mom's like, well, I'm going to the store. I'm making some pasta. I'm making lasagna. And she made this whole pan of lasagna. Do you remember I brought that to you?
Yes, and it's perfect Italian. I mean, we kind of referred to it earlier about the meal, but I can remember sitting at the table with my grandmother, and she, you know, she had a really strong Italian accent. She says, mangiate. And I'm like, well, Nana, I'm eating a lot.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
No, mangiate. You know, like, you not hungry? Is something wrong with the food? I'm like, no, it's perfect.
It's offensive. You don't eat it all, right?
So she bring more. And why is it that when they make something, they feel like they're feeding 10 families instead of one? I mean, it's like always something.
It's so true.
You come over, you hungry?
Yeah.
And if you say no, there's something.
It's offensive.
Are you
You're
sick?
offended. Yeah.
Like, I'll get you something. You want it? You want this? You want that? I mean, it is a really big centerpiece, and I think it's probably one of the things that, you know, Italians break down walls, because it begins conversation, and it's really fun.
I actually I had posted it on Facebook, and it was a memory that came up the other day, and it was my mom's handwritten pasta sauce, and I thought, I was so...
Gravy.
Yeah, oh, I mean, it's so amazing, because normally she'd be like, a pinch of this, a pinch of that, you know, just to taste here, and I'm always like, I need it written down. And I found that, my sister and I found that after my mom had passed, and so anyway, it was just, I was like so thankful that I have that recipe.
That's exactly the way my grandmother was. I said, how do you know all this? She said, I just know.
It's crazy.
It's like,
yes, it drives you crazy, though,
like
doesn't it, almost?
Yeah, it's like part of their heart is in the preparation of their food. And they just knew how to cook to a certain taste, and they did it without having anything written down.
It's how they serve others. I love your story. I actually had called Kenny Mossman before our interview here, and I said, what about Joe C. that people don't know? That you know, Kenny was your associate athletic director for years.
Great guy.
He's now pastor down in Carnegie.
So proud of him.
I know. I love that he's gone into ministry, but he said something that meant so much, and he said that you did this all the time, that he was inducted into his small town Hall of Fame for his school, and it was in Kansas, and that, you happened to be playing nearby, and he said that he didn't expect you to be there because the Sooners were playing, and he said that you had the plane touchdown so you could be there, and he said when he got up to speak that you were in the back of the room, and he said that he got emotional about it, that meant so much, and he said that's the thing that Joe does so much for so many people, that you would never expect. And I just love that story. And that is kind of part of your makeup of you have so many relationships, and you really do kind of wear your heart on your sleeve, don't you?
I do. Well, and I'm not bashful about it. You know,
It's
you
okay.
kind of be unapologetic because, you know, as an AD or a leader, sometimes you're supposed to be showing that, you know, everything is smooth. But I'm still a fan too, or I'm a fan of people's success, or I love people, seeing people be happy. And, you know, so I'm not stiff like that, but I know in our business you kind of have it like this, and you got to stay steady. But behind the scenes, I'm just as excitable as anybody else, and especially when people are doing great things, and I want to celebrate them, like Kenny, where I've stood out, you know, in the middle of the night when a team came home from a big win. You know, now, we see what happens with the Thunder when they come home during the playoffs. You know, and sometimes that it was a big, you know, enough event that Sooner fans showed up. But there are other times when, you know, you have a big win on the road, and, you know, I know our teams were traveling back and not touching down till like, you know,
Early.
2 o'clock, 2:30, 3 in the morning. And, you know, sometimes I just felt like somebody needed to be there to tell them how much they're appreciated. And then get off the bus and everybody's sleepy.
There's
But
Josie.
yeah, I'm just there. I like the two lights, headlights on the car, waiting for them to pull into the parking lot. And I just have always believed in, you know, celebrating people. And that's, yes, in my way, I don't do it for any attention by any means. It's just, you just do what feels natural.
You have made a big announcement. This is the last year that you're going to be at the helm as the Vice President, Director of Athletics at OU. Was that a hard decision? I mean, you've been at OU for 27, almost 28 years or so, since 97 or 98. What were the factors that kind of led into all that? Can you share?
Yeah, it was super hard.
Yeah.
I mean, because I love what I do. My energy level's still, you know, extremely high. It's, you know, I feel like I'm making a big contribution all the time. But I also, you know, started seeing, you know, the world about other things. And, you know, it's kind of got to a reflective moment. I can't say that it just happened all of a sudden. And Robin, I would tell you, it's not any one single thing. Was it this? Or is it the disruption in the business and it's not fun anymore? Or is it something else? And, you know, it's probably a little bit of a lot of things. But I remember having a conversation with Toby Keith a couple of years ago. And we had a lot of sometimes late night conversations. And we were talking about things, and he said, hey, why don't you go here? And then he'd ask me, why don't you go there? And I always kept telling him, you know, I wanted to go, but something related to work always got in, you know, in the way. And then I started seeing more and more of that. And in our business, Robin, we know to be in it, you have to embrace what you're truly signing up for. It's everything. I mean, it's everything. It's a criticism. It's the demands on your time, sacrifices that pull you away from your family, on and on. And we know that, at least you should, when you sign up for it. And I've been in this I literally had my first full-time job offer and acceptance before I graduated from college. Wow. And so I got my diploma at Maryland, drove home to South Florida, dropped off things that I probably wasn't going to use, you know, starting a job at home, and immediately went to Houston and started working full-time. And, you know, I've taken like 1-2 week vacation when we got married, Krista and I, you know, that's it. You know, it's not that I haven't done a lot of fun things in my life. I don't want to sound like, you know, poor me. It's not that. But at a point you start to, you know, get to where we are in today's world, and a variety of factors have led me to realize that even when I'm advising our staff about the importance of a work-life balance and how that helps you mentally be even sharper for what you're doing, you know, in your job, and just things you would normally talk about. One day I just had that moment. need to start thinking about my own advice, and
Did you think,
that's where it got started, thinking about that.
I think you mentioned Toby, just Toby's death. I think it hit people so hard here in Oklahoma and just in Moore and Norman and OU. I think that, in some ways, people still aren't over that.
No.
I mean.
The guy he transcended something that it's hard to put a word or a phrase or a description to. And, I think he was a little bit of every one of us. Obviously, we're not, world-renowned, iconic singers or songwriters. We don't get up in front of, tens of thousands of people every time, we do our job. He was incredible, but he never let that stardom change who he was as a person.
He's just kind of a good old boy.
Yeah.
But he'd tell you, he didn't mind telling you what he thought either, right?
Well, that's what I've learned about coming to Oklahoma, is that the people here, if you really study them, they are authentic. And the ones that try to be something they're not get called out. Yeah. And so Toby was authentic. Sure, he could have lived his career in Nashville. That wasn't him. He decided to come back to Oklahoma and raise his family. And he wanted to be authentic Toby. And I think, I talked to Bob Stoops about this too. Oklahomans let Toby be Toby. Yeah. And he loved that. He could be himself. Bob was the Hall of Fame coach for a long time, but at home he was just Bob Stoops. Yeah. I remember him coming home one day. He told me this story. He walked in his house, and I don't know which one, Drake or Isaac, said, "Hey, everybody, Bob Stoops is home."
Announcement, right?
But Bob always would tell me he could be himself here. And he had chances to go other places. So when you see certain people like that, Robin, who, are comfortable in their own skin, knowing that they're on the biggest of the biggest stages and find a way to be their self, that's something everybody can identify with. And I think maybe to a point why, we're not over it, because this person transcends most anybody you'd ever meet in life. And so I remember we had these deep conversations, and I'm doing this and that, and we're trying to make the transition to the SEC, and we're dealing with this transfer portal and NIL, and it's just been crazy, but I just started having a reflective moment, saying, what do I need to do, to be the best version of myself? And of course, I'm very, very, very focused on what I need to do to serve OU the right way. Yeah. And so, I started talking to Kristen about it, and we just, started evaluating a lot of things, and that's what led to not knowing if this is the perfect time, but maybe it's the time.
How long have you guys been married?
30 years.
Really?
And in fact, I said this at the day of the announcement. As much as I tried to avoid making the announcement on that particular day, it's just the perfect example of how the job continues to dominate your life. That was our 30th anniversary.
Are you kidding?
30th.
She's like, here we are again.
That's why I started with, everybody starts thanking everybody. And then last but not least, the family. And I'm like, no. I'm starting with my family, because no one knows, unless you're in the shoes of what a family goes through in a job like this. We were talking earlier, Kristen has been married to an AD our entire marriage. She didn't get the ramp up. She got, boom, right in. Yeah. And
takes someone special, though. Right. Like, not every wife can handle that,
no,
right?
And the kids,
everyone.
I know both of my sons, told me about various stories that, they encountered, growing up. It's not like my name is, like Smith or Jones.
Yeah, they know who you are. Yeah.
And, kids being kids would say something they'd hear probably at home. Somebody told them about this or that. Or even some of their teachers in grade school would have great suggestions to bring home to tell your pops. So as much as we tried to shield the private life from the personal life. It's not easy, but we're still in college athletics. And at the same time, I didn't want my family to be robots, so we found ways to be connected. There were many times during the 8 ages of our kids that we would have dinner up in one of the, parts of an arena, because it's a weeknight volleyball or soccer or wrestling or baseball or somewhere that, we wanted to be at the game and we wanted them to experience it. So we found ways to integrate it so we didn't have that much separation. And then when my kids were in high school doing sports, I made it a point, because I always heard about coaches and ADs say they missed that part of their kids' life. So I would go to the lengths to make sure I could get to their activities. I didn't get to every single one, but I got to the majority of them, and that was important. And still to this day, one of the most enjoyable parts of my life.
What's one of the highlights? It's hard to probably pinpoint one thing, but of when you just think about your time at OU, a magical moment or a private moment, what is the one thing that in your mind, you think of immediately as that was a moment I'll never forget in my life?
Well, the elation of winning championships, that's hard to match.
Hard to top that.
But we don't get to win championships every time we try one. Now, we're in the hunt for a lot of them, and sometimes you still think about the ones that
got away.
Just a whisker away from winning another one. But we won a pretty good share over this period of time. And I will tell you, probably the things that mean the most about getting to that point is knowing the people that believed in you or believed in the program when it wasn't popular. When you had to go and sell them on an idea or a vision to do this to get that. That was the quid pro quo of it. Not that it was guaranteed, but if we were to try and pursue this level of excellence, whatever it is, performance in the classroom, the facilities, or helping people be the best version of themselves, they needed resources. They needed a belief system. They needed people to give them the tools to be at their best. We are recruiting the best and the brightest in the country to come to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma stands for excellence. We have a lot of history we're trying to build on. But there were times when, especially some of the programs that had hit a skid or had never been there, and you had to build a belief system where we can do this, hiring great people. And so I think probably my most cherished moments, while the championships are the scoreboard that some people will add up, but seeing programs get to a point that it seemed like just a short time before weren't possible. And I could see the eyes of the athletes and see the eyes of the coaches, and whether we were elated or maybe disappointed because we just didn't win that championship, not to forget how much the journey to get there meant. And I think those are the moments that I've cherished the most, because you see what happens when probably the most important thing we can do is to inject confidence and a belief system that hope is something that drives.
Amen.
And it's not a strategy, but it is something that drives. And if people have a belief system and you support that through the ups and downs, and you keep pushing to what everybody buys into as a vision, those are the moments that mean the most. And then seeing people be at their best. Because as I said earlier, if people are successful, then our program's successful.
When I was talking with Kenny Mossman on the phone, he said that you really are known as the godfather of being, just leading athletic programs. And he said, I know he's Italian. He said, but, it's kind of where I began, is that your hand on that programs call you, from across the country, many of them, he said, saying, who do we hire? We're looking for someone. That has to feel like, how blessed are you that you have all these connections and that you've been able to walk journeys with people who are really trying to do what you've done so well?
That's probably something that I haven't totally thought about.
Yeah.
I'm certainly aware of what you're saying, but you just do what you believe is right. And you're not necessarily doing it with some kind of scorecard on the side,
Right.
or for people to. So I've always, seen my best work in finding the right people, and pouring into them to help them be the best version of themselves. And maybe at some point I'll step back and think about how that impact has manifested itself in so many different ways. But I've always stood for doing what's right and never backing down from that. And sometimes that's not the popular thing. A lot of times people want to take a shortcut, and don't worry.
Or a shot.
Yeah, about what right,
Yeah.
doing it the right way. Let's just make this happen. And of course, I wanted to be successful at the highest possible level, but I wanted people to be proud of the way it was done. So our value system is like integral to everything that we do. And I think that's part of what also is a level of, an element of pride, if you will, because you've done it the right way. Yeah. And I wanted to, if I was ever going to be measured, they would say he did it the right way. And then maybe that's what attracts people to try to call,
emulate,
and try to hire our people, which is a great compliment that we have people that others want, and it was my job to try to keep them here as long as I could. But I think proving, especially in a world where right now where everything's about a click, about a moment, about a TikTok, they don't realize all the other stuff that goes on. They just think everything is kind of crystallized in one little thing. But at the end of a really well orchestrated journey, it does in itself crystallize into the moment that matters. But those that are in the moment realize it was the journey to it that made that moment possible, not just that we created some kind of fictitious little animation that said we're great, and that's I think that's the substance of it all. We have style, but we want to have substance too.
I think that having David Griffin, our president at Channel 9, he always just says, just do everything with excellence.
Yeah.
Do your best to try to do everything with excellence. Doesn't mean everything's going to go perfect or anything like that. I was just going to ask you, so, retiring doesn't mean you're slowing down really or quitting.
No.
What is your plan, Josie? Where will we see you next? What's kind of your vision for your, life after OU athletics and being the big man on campus every day, putting that together?
Well, Robin, I started thinking about it. We talked about, the transition into the full-time world of college athletics and how I was able to grow through my journey to becoming an athletics director. Now this is my 33rd year as an AD. But the word retirement is even something I'm stumbling saying. In our world, that you're in the DNA of you don't quit on anything, and so it has a little bit of a remote feel of quitting something.
It's just a new chapter. How
That's
about
what I'm
that?
saying.
Okay,
I'm
like
saying
that.
so I'm going to use the fact that I've really, once I stepped foot on a college campus, I've never left. I went to college and I received my degree from the University of Maryland, and I've been on a college campus ever since. Different ones, but on a college campus ever since. So maybe I'm just graduating to something different, a different degree. I'm not one that can sit around. My wife will tell you I'm not wired that way. So I've been talking about things we want to do. And, because we've not had time, there are some things we'd like to do together. Travel is something.
Sure.
Mostly because we're both lifelong learners. So you want to go places to learn about, what it's not just visit, but to learn. So we'll do some of that. But I was very fortunate that, President Harris asked me to stay on, and they've given me this AD emeritus role.
Right.
And, we've got big projects. We've got the stadium renovation on the west side, which we haven't fully announced yet, but we've been working on raising money for that. More to come there.
Okay.
People know about the entertainment district in Norman, which is a game changer for Norman and Cleveland County.
And a new arena for the basketball program.
Right, very committed to that. When we can get the approval to go forward there. We've got the city council, but now we're working on a couple of legal things. And then I have been teaching on campus for about 12 years, not the last few, but I had 12 years before that. And I'm very involved and connected with Price College in developing this sports management program. And it's one of the fastest growing programs on campus in any college, but certainly in Price College. And we want to take it even farther to create a center of excellence for sports leadership. And think about what opportunity we have in Oklahoma right now. And I've talked to Joe Harris about this, and when we're having such growth, I mean, a lot of colleges are seeing declines in enrollment. Oklahoma, the University of Oklahoma is going like this, and due to his leadership and the leadership of the board of regents, they've seen what needed to be done several years ago and started making those changes, and now the vision and the strategy is starting to manifest itself in the growth. And so I said, hey, in a little way, I think we can do something to help that growth and create this center of sports leadership. And one of the things that we're doing, not only enhancing the sports management program that is growing fast right now, we want to develop a sports MBA. We're looking around. If there's one out there, we haven't found it yet.
Really? Wow. That's exciting.
Yes, and right here in Oklahoma City, the top 20 MBA program in the country is right here at the University of Oklahoma. Why not add to it with a sports MBA? Yeah. And then started thinking we're sort of expanding that vision and how we can connect the role of sports to every aspect of life, because it's the one thing that we see growing in our society.
Yeah.
It's not going away.
No.
There's different versions, different types of sports. And obviously with what's going on here in Oklahoma City and a pro sports environment and how that's connected to enhance the quality of life for the city of Oklahoma City and the surrounding areas, and what Clay Bennett and Sam Presti and Mark and the players, and it's the idea of what the Thunder continue to do. We've had great relationships with them. In fact, Brian Burns has been a professor in the sports management program. So we have all of this that can be developed. And then the last two parts that we want to lean into is the connection to health, because that relates to every Oklahoman, and the connection to sports and sports medicine in our communities. We can talk about people having access in a Oklahoma City, a Tulsa or Norman or some of the bigger cities in and around Oklahoma. But to the smaller towns where sports is still really huge, they don't have the access to sports medicine care like they need. But they have everybody playing sports. So we think in time, the growth through OU Health and the development of a bigger, broader sports medicine program can be another way to serve. So it's all going to come.
Are you retiring, really?
Yeah. Well, that's what Kristen said.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Wait a second. But I've had this passion in helping them. And so it's just another chapter in being able to, I just want to serve Oklahoma and the University of Oklahoma, and that would be the way. So, yeah, more to come on that. But you could tell how excited. And Joe, when we were talking about it, we'll launch, I guess we are launching some of it here. But some breaking news.
Thank you. I'll take that.
But we'll talk more about it in
all
the next year.
All the details
will
come,
First and foremost, we've got a great sports year ahead. And
is John Mateer going to be
He's the real deal. I've watched him as an athlete, but the part that's impressed me, where I know there's carryover to the field, is his leadership and the way that he connects with everybody. And he could have just come in and just said, "Hey, I'm a quarterback, and I'll do my thing and work with the team."
Is he a lot like Baker? A lot of people say he's kind of like Baker.
I think.
Do you think?
Yeah, he's his own man, but different. But in a sense, he is the guy in the locker room that people are gravitating to. That. And that doesn't just happen. They don't just, basically crown you. You have to be a leader
to come
worth
into
following.
OU, are you kidding?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, just like we were talking about leadership characteristics, I've always thought that if I could be the leader worth following, then I could have the influence. It was never about a title. Now the quarterback touches the ball on offense every play. So they're going to make something happen. Whether they have to do something or they put the ball into the hands of playmakers that have been developed to do something too. But he also has understood his role of helping the defense develop. So he has adopted a level of leadership that I think is really going to be positive into going with that unique athletic skills that he has. And so that's why I have a lot of excitement. But John will be the first to tell you, and it's the mantra of Oklahoma, no one person is bigger than the program itself. So he realizes that he has to help others be successful for him to be successful. And when I see him in action like that, I go, he's a dude. And he's an alpha, so you have that kind of.
You got to have that.
Yeah, you got to have.
That's good.
Have that, where he's just finding ways to help others be successful because he wants to be successful. And you know what? That's the symbiotic relationship that great leaders have with those that are around them.
Yeah, you got to surround yourself with good people.
Yep.
Some people don't like that. Some people I want to be the main one and keep it. No, you got to have good people around you to make you, elevate. I love that about you and how so many people just say that you do want people to be better, and we've seen that. And, a lot about your legacy will be what happens after you leave, and that's a good mark of that. As we are doing our podcast with people, one thing that as we kind of end, what would you tell your younger self, Joe, now that you've experienced all this? What advice would you give to a young Joe Castiglione who's trying to find his way in life now that you've experienced so much?
Bet on yourself. It doesn't mean when you are making that commitment to yourself to power through whatever it is that you have to face to get to where you want, that you won't have challenges and you won't necessarily have all the talent or skills, but you know that you have the belief. And realize, too, that we've said it, half a dozen times today. It's not about a title. It's not about power. It's not anything somebody gives to you. It's what you create to have influence to help others be successful. That's where the secret sauce is. And so I didn't know that right away. I was always thinking it's the what. What do I do next? What title do I need to have?
Yeah.
What job do I need to do?
Who do I need to know?
Yeah, right. And I needed to do that to get there. And somewhere, fortunately, earlier in my professional life, the epiphany happened, the light bulb moment, whatever you want to call it. And I said, that just kind of was somewhere, probably driving to somewhere, like on the job, yeah. But I said, I'm missing something. I haven't adopted or adapted to the why.
The purpose.
And that's the purpose.
Yeah.
And then from that moment, I became a purpose-driven individual. And I was in leadership roles, but not the AD. Right. And I said, if I really want to become the right kind of leader that people will follow, I've got to be purpose-driven. Not that I was perfect, but I always measured. I always measured it on whether or not it was aligned with my purpose and my values, and that's what started me on the path. And all of a sudden, you stop worrying about what was next because these things started coming. Like they just start putting them in front of you. Like you had to decide what you wanted to do, but there were more and more opportunities rather than trying to force it. And so I have these kind of conversations with people who are trying to get into business, and they're saying, okay, well, I go here and I have to do this job, and then I go there to do another. I go, whoa. Why are you in this business?
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'll say, well, because I want to be this. No. Why are you in this business? I chose to be part of college athletics. And not that I wouldn't have ever been looked at a pro opportunity, but I thought, instead of going the coaching route, I can impact athletes administratively, because I will still put the athlete number one in priority. But I can find ways to get all these resources that would be necessary for them to be at their best. Obviously, starting with the right coaches, but everything else that they needed to be successful. So, in a sense, I was still impacting athletes, but doing it in a different way. And that connected to my why and my values. And so that's what, bet on yourself, but have your purpose and your values connected to how you're going to go about it.
You have walked worthy of the calling for which you've been called, Joe.
Well, thank you. That means more than you can imagine, and certainly more than I can thank you in words.
Just love what you stand for and love how you love people. It's infectious.
Thank you. And I'm going to continue to be serving people somehow.
There you go. He's not going anywhere. All right, Boomer Sooner there, right?
Boomer Sooner.